Journalism is about selling information, so to transform it to money. Intelligence is a set of tools, so it starts with the planning, the gathering, the collection of information. It's stressful enough to be a businessman, so use intelligence not to relax, but to be more in the known.
The more you put online, the more you give access to, right? So if you're being bad, you're going to show a lot of bad.
Manipulation is not a tool to hurt people. It's a tool, it's like a knife. A knife can be used to cut the food for your kid or to cut your steak, but it can also be used to kill someone. If you lead by fear or by a bad type of authority, on the long term, these people are not your ally. They can even betray you. When you're animated by ideology, money is not important. Nothing is more important than the cause that you serve. Then people kill for ideologies. If you're a freelancer and you want to know your personas, go to talk with.
Hi everyone, new episode of the Scale Up Show today with Oriane Cohen. Hi Oriane.
Hi, how are you?
Great to have you today.
Thank you.
Today we're going to talk about a lot of intelligent stuff.
Yeah.
Smart stuff, manipulation stuff, insightful stuff.
I hope.
Hopefully, I have no doubt. But first, just a little introduction. The best way to talk about critical decision making and the insights you need to scale whatever project you have, whether it's a business, it's an organization, it's a project for yourself, it's something you're trying to build, is to think in terms of, well, what's motivating you, what data you have, and what insights you have. That's kind of the idea of knowledge is power, right? We're going to confirm that or not. And to talk about that, we have Oriane. Oriane is the founder of OC Strategic Advisory.
Yeah.
OCSA.
OCSA.
And there is a big story to tell, but you're going to do that. Oriane is working on things that are confidential, unfiltered, and working on how to bring objective strategic advisory to key decision makers. I'm not being smart, I'm just borrowing from your LinkedIn CV, right? Just the quick story, and then you can come back on everything, but you started as a journalist.
Yeah.
That got you to strategic analysis, advisory, crisis management, high-stake negotiation, business intelligence, mass influence. I want to know more about that. It pushed you to work with decision makers, helping them making the most of intelligence, generally speaking, whether that's a question of geopolitics, whether that's a question of understanding who people are around them, whether that's a question of due diligence, KYC, KY, everything we want. We can talk about that as well. Social media, crisis management, risk management, very big point. So we're going to talk about that. And just a teaser, but if you want to know more, Oriane also has a Substack that's really interesting. It's called Intelligence in Business. You can tell us more about that. The question today is, how do you scale operations in a smart and intelligent way? And is knowledge power?
Okay, well,
how
that's a big
sound?
question. Yeah,
sounds
okay.
Good?
Yeah, sounds good.
So what's your background?
So what's my background? So as you can guys hear, I'm French, born and raised.
Happens to nice people.
Where?
It happens to nice people.
Yeah, it happens to everyone. So yeah, I was born and raised in the French Riviera actually. I studied political sciences in Sciences Po in France, and straight after my studies, I moved to Israel, and quite by coincidence, I would say, because my goal was not to be a journalist. I never thought I would become. It was not a dream of mine. I became a journalist by default in the beginning to earn money and to try to integrate myself in the society. So I was a TV reporter. For a few years, I moved from channels to channels. Back in Israel, I was a lot on the field, covering the conflict mostly. And as I always say, I came to Israel with thousands of questions to answer, and I left Israel with 10,000 more questions. You think you know, you don't know. You don't know shit. Like really, it's so complex, so fascinating. Conflict, religion, politics, economy, society, everything is extremely complex there. And basically I got tired from journalism for some obvious reason for some, which is the responsibility that we have as journalists. At the end of the day, journalism is about selling information. And in order to sell information, so to transform it to money, you need to create buzz, you need to create like a debate around it. And I remember, that at some point, really at the end of my career as a journalist, the CEO in the newsroom would come at the 8 p.m. show, just before the 8 p.m. show, like when all of the team are going to get, into the studio and stuff. And the only goal was to do rating. Okay, guys, tonight, rating. And I got tired of this because we sacrificed important information for the sake of business, for the sake of money. But when we are talking about a tool as TV, as press, as all type of medias, we have such a responsibility. It's a mass influence tool. Basically. And it was used during propagandas, during wars, and so on. And I was exhausted to be a part of this. And also on another matter, I felt at some point when I was covering the conflict on the field, I really asked myself the questions, would they be here to fight? Like, Israeli-Palestinian, 8 p.m., are we ready for the big show? Boom, okay, action. And then and I was like, would they do this if we were not here with the camera? And I felt it's obviously much more complex than that, right? But I felt that I had a responsibility and that journalists, medias are completely actors of this conflict as well. And I could not accept this anymore. So I left journalism. And back then I was still young and, I loved adrenaline. I was a bit crazy and I think I still am. And I was looking for new opportunities, and quite naturally I was recruited to a job that didn't say much, just like we're looking for a person that would be able to travel and that speaks a few languages. I was like, oh, sounds like fun. Passed the interviews and stuff, and really if you ask me now to do this, I wouldn't go for it because I had no clue of what really I was going to do there. I passed a few interviews, I understood a bit the vibe, the type of questions that they ask, and I was completely authentic. I had nothing to hide. I learned during journalism skills that I was not really aware of them once I was a journalist. I understood the value of what I learned later on, which is handling high-pressure situations, on the field, conflict and such. Manipulation, because at the end of the day, media is mass manipulation. Storytelling, because you have to learn how to build a story quite quickly. Actually, also talking with people. When you're a lot on the field, a reporter, you need to find good sources to get the right information, to get them to say exactly what you want, because that will make the great rating and so on. So I developed some skills, strategic communication, basically. But back then, I was not aware of this.
So that's what they were looking for in the job offer?
No, in the job offer, really, there was nothing. Really nothing, just the fact, if you speak a few languages and you're able to travel. And I love that. I was like, yeah, cool.
So that was just the employer branding was just like, I can travel.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I knew that it was for a private intelligence company because it was posted in a group back then that is reserved only for people in the field of intelligence.
So what's private intelligence?
What's private intelligence? Private intelligence, it's intelligence that is not done by the state. Most of the time in private intelligence companies, you would have former officers of the country that after a long career, or not long, no need to be that long, after a few years, you switch, because basically, I met a lot of people like this back then. They gave all of their life from a young age to the state as officers, no matter in which field. And then they are back to the civilian world and they have no clue of how it really works. And all they know how to do is intelligence. So very naturally, these companies recruit former from the cyber departments, from intelligence, or the military in general.
Are there many companies like that? Or is it just one here, one there? Is it like a big industry?
It is a big industry. Yeah. No. I think there are a lot of companies like that. They are the big ones, of course. And I think like any industry, they are the one that succeed and the one that do not, because it's a very special type of service. I'm not sure all of them know how to scale, because again, sometimes they don't have the business mindset, so they know how to do the job, but they don't know how to survive in the field of business, because this is still business.
Just to understand, when you say private intelligence, it sounds like, okay, we're doing research and we're selling information to companies. Like, this is happening there, this is happening there, geopolitical analysis, right?
Yeah, not only, but yeah.
From my own, how can I say? I'm not aware. From my own unaware perspective, I've been doing a bit of geopolitics before, and what I saw from the intelligence world was companies that were doing international relations kind of analysis and selling the information to larger companies that would need that kind of thing. But if you look at TV, one of the series I watched recently was The Blacklist. There is one scene in one episode where the bad guy shows up, he opens the door of a kind of a hidden building, and it's full of people typing on computers. And turns out the big criminal mind of the series actually has his own private intelligence network with spies everywhere, and they build up information. And that's how he's building his own blacklist kind of system, right? When you're talking about private intelligence, is it the public? Is it states that can't basically get things on their own? Or is it multinational companies? Is it small companies? Who's using that?
Of course, states. They have their own services, secret services, or state services. Sometimes states will also outsource some very specific services. But private intelligence services are more oriented to B2, like in B2B. So basically, it's to serve big corporations, smaller as well, less available, I would say, for tiny companies, but also and mostly actually for high net worth individuals. These are the type of people that will use this type of services and understand them also very well.
Can you give an example? Why would that be relevant for high net worth people?
It's relevant for high net worth individuals because, first of all, they have a lot of money, and when you have too much money, you are subject to
pressure.
Yeah, pressure and a lot of risks. People around you are not all kind. So you need to manage your companies, your finances, and also your network very carefully. Generally, they will also have a private security associated with their lifestyle. So, of course, they would use this type of services. And intelligence, you said it's about analysis and geopolitical risk. Of course, it's bad, but I would say it's the simplest service of intelligence. First of all, I think it's important to start with the beginning. What is intelligence? Intelligence is a set of tools. Okay, it's defined by the cycle of intelligence, we call it. So it starts with the planning, the gathering, the collection of information, and
so the planning means this is the kind of information we want. How do we get there?
Exactly. This is the kind of information, or this is the goal that I want to achieve. And then we start the process of intelligence. So then we gather information. There are a lot of different methodologies to gather information. One of the simplest, WebInt, OSINT, so open source intelligence, web intelligence, HUMINT, human intelligence, which is based basically on human interactions. There is one that I love, but just because it's funny, it's called GARBINT. So it's basically garbage intelligence, because you'd be surprised by the quantity and the knowledge we may find in your own garbage about your lifestyle, about a lot of stuff. And it is actually extremely important for companies. Sometimes companies, they just throw away stuff that could be used against them. So GARBINT and so many other SINGINT and a lot of other methodologies. Then It's analyzed, it's processed, and then it is disseminated to the decision maker. So basically, we start with an information, we corroborate the information, we analyze it, and then it gets back to the decision maker as intelligence. This is not information anymore. It has been verified, it has been analyzed. This is intelligence, and this allow the key, like the decision maker, to make informed decisions. So once you understand the cycle, you understand first of all that intelligence is about so many different types of jobs. You would have the cyber guy, you would have the specialist in emotions, you would have the profiler, you would have a psychologist, you would have an analyst, people that speak different type of languages, so many different type of jobs, and that's what, in my eyes, make it so interesting and so valuable.
So intelligence is not just a spy movie kind of thing?
No, not at all. No, intelligence is really about delivering informed information to decision makers that are actionable.
One of the impacts of that could be M&As.
What do you mean?
Merger acquisitions. For instance, you have a company and you're planning on acquiring another one. Mm-hmm. You could use intelligence to say, okay, who am I buying? Mm-hmm.
Completely.
Or you could use that to say, who's buying me?
Yeah. But you can use it actually at different stage of the M&A. First of all, to identify the target. Mm-hmm. If you want to buy, so you would need to identify, analyze the market as it is. Then, if you already approach the person, so get to know the key decision makers, the stakeholders. You can profile them, you can analyze them, assess the market, the risks, the opportunities, the development of the market. And then we can also help at the other phase, which is more advanced, which is the negotiation part.
I was going to come to the next point, which is basically it's a question of negotiation.
Yeah, but really we can help during the whole process. From the beginning, once point zero, you are open and you want to acquire something new, so you would analyze the market and stuff, then analyze the people, then negotiation, and then also to implement in the right manner, like to make sure that it works well.
You're talking about people. Is it like typically an intelligence, how would you say, campaign? An intelligence campaign, an intelligence project? Someone starts gathering information about, would it be about a company? Would it be about some people in the company so that they can get leverage?
Both.
Both?
Yeah, again, that would depend. That's what we call in intelligence the PIR. It's called the Priority Intelligence Requirement. Before you start with a client, you need to understand what are his goals, and they need to be prioritized. My first goal is to make a lot of money. My first goal is to expand in this market. So according to the PIR, we oriented the cycle of intelligence toward that. And sometimes, the priority would be investigate in a specific person. And sometimes these kind of details are actually discovered during the investigation. Once you start and then you discover something, and this oriented the investigation into something else.
So let's say I'm doing business, right? I have a company and I'm looking into a deal because someone is trying to buy my company, right? Mm-hmm. So what I'm going to do is due diligence, which is also known as KYC, know your customer. Mm-hmm. Somehow it's not exactly the same, but it's pretty much the same idea. Are there any processes or any specific things that you would be looking at if you were, let's say, a consultant and you're working for me? You're going to look at specific things for that due diligence kind of process? Yeah,
of course. So first of all, like most people believe that due diligence is a lawyer thing. And it is. I don't say that, in terms of like legally speaking, verifying the identity, the veracity of contracts and stuff, there is a legal part to it. But here, and actually lawyers also use my kind of services to make sure it's not about the legal part, because, everything can be very clean on paper, But then suddenly, me, the type of things that I would take a look at are, first of all, the reputational risk. So social medias. Really monitor and go through everything on social medias or on medias in general, if we're talking about high-stake transactions with kind of famous people and stuff. You want to make sure that either the person is clean, or if it's not, are you willing to associate with someone that has such a reputation? My goal here is not to say it's right or wrong. It's just be in the known. Be aware and, know your customer, know your transaction. No, it's all about knowing. Knowledge is power. So, you see, I saw this interview recently of Elon Musk that says that he uses ketamine, and everyone was just like, oh my God, and what to think about this, But it's not, I'm not here to judge. It's not interesting to me, like either it's good or not. The thing is, like to my clients, what I want to make sure of is be aware that your future associate, your future partner is using drugs or is doing weird stuff. Are you still willing to associate with him? Yes or no? If yes, so how can you handle this type of personalities? And then there is another type of work that we can work on, which is all the strategic part, which is also one of the parts that I love the most, is how do you handle this type of personalities? Or if we're not talking about a person, but about risk on a specific market, because Middle East, wars, whatever, it doesn't mean you don't have to go to this market because they are risky. Most great investors, they take risk, a lot of risk. But do you decide to go with it like completely blind, like that's cool, I handle, you live with the adrenaline every day? Why not? I mean, that's a choice. Or do you prefer to be in the known?
So it means intelligence, in the way you're describing it, is not just a question of information. It's a question of getting the options on the table and being aware that there are some good options, some bad options, or some not that nice options anyway. And being aware and being able to decide that maybe this is a complicated option, but we can still take it, because that means, since we know, we can do some crisis management.
Exactly. Crisis management or anticipate. There is also a part in intelligence that is very interesting. It's all the forecasting and anticipation part. We have, this role. It's an Israeli concept. It's called the 10th man rule. And it's basically about having someone that is skeptical of the team. The one that imagine always the worst case scenarios. When I was working in the past, some people called me in French the black cat. Like always thinking of the worst case and stuff. But that's extremely important. What is your emergency plan kind of problem? Because, in terms of crisis, if you call me, this will cost you a lot of money, because it means trying to correct a problem after a lot of mistakes that you've already done. But if you implement a system that is strong enough that when the crisis comes, because at some point, some exterior events can happen, wars, pandemics, and so much other things, you will have tools and plans to respond it. So it's not crisis management anymore. It's still crisis management, but it's controlled. And any good businessman, from what I know from them, are control freak. They want control. So why would you add yourself so much pressure, and stress? It's stressful enough to be a businessman. So use intelligence to not to relax, but to be more in the known, more aware.
The thing, though, is, I completely agree with that, but from what I see with my own clients and their entrepreneurs, right? It's usually easy for an entrepreneur to think about what should go right, what could go right. We think big, so, that's going to work, that's going to be great. But it's pretty difficult to make them think in terms of, if shit happens or if shit hits the fan, then what? And it's pretty rare to see companies where they have a B plan. It's pretty rare to have people who think in terms of, we have option 1, option 2, option 3. Maybe 3 is more difficult, but in the long term, it's more profitable, or it's better for us. And it's pretty much a question of we have one goal, one way, and we're going to take it.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't necessarily think in terms of options. Actually, the point that I was making just a bit before when I was saying, okay, you have options and you can point out that this is a bad one, okay, but it's still here and we have to know. When I say that to entrepreneurs, they're like, why would you even keep the bad option?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I think here...
They're not aware.
For me, yeah, first of all, they're not aware, but it's a mindset, actually. It's really a mindset, and people that use intelligence are more advanced company and are people that have a long-term, like a vision. They have, not only they're not doing business for the money or for the cash flow, they have a plan that goes beyond the 10 years. The big companies, first of all, that are very well installed and are going to keep their way going, of course, they would use intelligence because they are thinking already long term. But these kind of entrepreneurs, maybe I would say, they lack vision. Some people are more also interested in the quick cash flow. Today, growth marketing and growth hack and growth things, it's like about generating quick cash. And then it's over. Okay, we will know how to create cash again. Cash. And why not? I'm not judging it. It's okay. But it's not... Indeed, my services are not made for people like this. Because it really serves people that have a vision. And also, me ethically, and because it belongs to who I am and how I need to feel aligned, I love to work with clients with whom I share a vision of the world. It's really people that want to give a legacy.
But that's because the people who want to have a legacy and think long-term and think vision... whether that's for politics or business, right? That's because in the end, they have a plan. They want to build an asset.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so you can't build an asset without planning for it. Yeah,
indeed. And intelligence serves this kind of people more and this kind of companies. But again, not only. Here I'm trying to make generalities to make it more accessible and such, but there are also a lot of little services that could be very useful to starters, I would say, or young startups and this kind of stuff, such as very simple services, background checks. We talked about due diligence. They should use it. So
actually, it's a good point. We were talking about KYC 5 minutes ago. Know your customer, KYC.
Yeah.
But there is KY everything.
Yeah.
So what kind of KY do you see?
KY is no, again. Like we come back to the no thing. And for me, it's like we really have to brush everything. So of course there is, it always starts like this. Verification of the identity, basic. Are you truly who you say you are, legally speaking? Then finances. You pretend to have companies for 10 years and making that much. Is it verifiable? Is it true? Then there would be the compliance, the reputation, the personality as well. As I said earlier, what are the passions of the persons, and if they have also some weaknesses, can be drug, can be women or men, but it mostly work in the other way, unfortunately. All this kind of stuff are things that are very important to know, reputation. Also some other stuff, like just, someone that had bad behavior in the past with a past associate or something, and you heard like he didn't end very well. All of these things should be put on the table from the beginning. And you should be aware of that before you associate.
Silly question, but the idea of communicating about who you are online, is it a good idea or is it a bad idea? Because somehow the more you put online, the more you give access to, right? So if you're being bad, you're going to show a lot of bad. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, if you're doing things right, it means people can also build a good case. Yeah.
This is strategic communication. It's always being in control of your narrative. So it's an interesting subject, and I love to associate storytelling with cover and legend, with the job of officers on the field, clandestine operations. I always say, that when you're on the field, and you're an officer working for a state, so you need to create what we call a cover, a legend, which is basically building an identity from scratch that needs to be close enough to you so you don't feel like it's not an effort to be lying.
To remember it.
Because you need to be authentic somehow. But when you're on the field, in the context again of being a spy from a state, or an agent, an officer more correctly, you have to understand that your greatest weapon, your only weapon actually, is your cover. You don't have a weapon, you don't have a pistol or something when you're on the field, because if you're in another state and you have a weapon, you could be arrested for that if it's illegal. So the only thing that will protect you is how strong is your story. So you have to know your story by heart and stick to it no matter what. Even if you now the police catch you and they ask you a question, you stick to your story till the end, because if they don't get any proof, you can actually get out of the police. So this was a story just to explain how it is also relevant to business. This is basically how to build a story so strong that it will be your greatest weapon on the markets. So exactly the same with brand identity for companies and for people in general, personal branding as well.
I was going to say there is company brand identity, but it's even more relevant for personal brand.
Yeah, completely, personal branding. And you can control your narrative. If you know that in the past you've been doing some stuff that might be discovered because you have big dreams and you're going to be influential at some point, some people may want to hurt you. So the best, it's not the best for every case. It needs to be studied case by case. But I would also always recommend, take control over your narrative. Announce it. And you decide how you say the story before it goes out. So you are in complete control. Now people love it, don't love it. As we say, for political campaigns, there is no bad buzz, unfortunately.
It's just how to handle it.
Yeah, it's how to handle it. And also, even bad buzz, it's a buzz. So if you want... there are a lot of people that are controversial today. Businessmen, politicians, but if we talk about business, some people are controversial, but that doesn't mean that some people hate these persons, but still, they are doing very well in business. Because we talk about them so much that there would be the haters and there would be the fans, the lovers. The people are like, wow, I admire you. You disgust me, but you fascinate me.
In the end, it's a question of saying, if you're going to criticize me, just spell my name right.
Yeah, exactly.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Manipulation. That's somehow that's a bit like manipulative, right? It's like you're going to tell your story and manipulate the reality in a way that you can control it.
Yeah.
Manipulation, we were talking about it before we started the recording, and you were saying everybody does it.
Yeah, but because it's true, and I don't like to. I mean, this is a word, so actually, no, I do like to use it. But every time I use it, I always feel, like people are suspicious, becomes suspicious of me or disgusted, but also again fascinated because it's a bad word. It echoes in the imagination of a lot of people to movies, Hollywood, and also manipulation and the way it's used in intelligence is really fed by medias, by Hollywood, by movies and stuff. So it has a bad image, but that's so hypocritical. That's my point. I know so many people that are not in the field of intelligence that are great manipulators.
NLP is something people use just because they know that if you're asking something to someone and touching their shoulder, they're more likely to actually say, yes, sure, no problem.
Yeah. And I think manipulation is also sometimes a way to handle some situation. And these are skills that you develop from a very young age. I always say that, kids are our greatest teachers in negotiation, in manipulations, because what they are seeking is not to hurt you. Manipulation is not a tool to hurt people. It's a tool. It's like a knife. A knife can be used to cut the food for your kid or to cut your steak, but it can also be used to kill someone. So manipulation is a tool, like a lot of the other tools. It can be dangerous depending on what you plan to do with it. But everyone uses manipulation. And I think, it just time sometimes just accept also this part of ourselves and stop lying about who we are. And we are all manipulators.
When we talk about that, it gets us to negotiation. And one connector that I see between both points is that we spend our life selling ideas.
Yeah.
So you have an idea and you want to convince me. It's not that you're going to push, it's I have to buy.
Yeah.
So it's not about you selling it, it's about you making sure I buy.
Yeah, persuade.
It's persuasion, it's convincing. Not in a sense, I'm going to change your mind, but in a sense, I'm going to say things in a way that you feel they're coming from you, in a way that you relate to them and you say, yeah, I agree.
Yeah, first of all, there are a lot of ways to reach this point, but one of the most important are emotions. And that's why I always insist, we talk about manipulation, it seems like, okay, what, this girl, she's using people. No, it's all about very genuine interactions. From the moment that you get close to people, but truly, genuinely, you get interested in them and you know how to touch their heart. You understand their system of values, the thing they believe in, the things that really motivate them in life. So you can find ways to talk. So with some people, I would advise you use this technique. With some people, absolutely not. This won't work. With some people, that are more dominant, so we'll have to push. So they will start to respect you, basically. Some people need this, hopla. And particularly when you're a woman. So there are so many different type of cases, but from the moment that you have all of the techniques, and more than have them, you need to understand them deeply. I always say, this type of techniques, I think I developed them from a very young age, actually, in childhood, as a way to cope with events, stuff in the family, secrets, parents that sometimes don't share a lot of emotions, so you have to understand as a kid, okay, how can I express mine, but without pushing, so I did this unconsciously. Then I was bullied in high school, and then, I kind of created my first cover. I created a persona around me that was so strong, so they won't piss me off. I was extremely hurt, but it was my way, to deal. And I was always understanding there was a band. They would call themselves the Seventh Band, I remember, in high school. And I was always trying to observe and strategically understand, okay, he's the leader. This one I can see is not against me, but he fears this one, so he won't. So I was always, in a survival mode. And very naturally also, I understand afterwards, that's what led me to who I am today. And these were skills that I acquired without being really aware of these skills. But then, when I learned the theory behind and I learned the mechanism of these skills, because, in the beginning I was like, oh, I'm very intuitive, I have this thing, I feel, I hear the music, it sounds good. And, it's things, a lot of people, investors tell me, yeah, I have a good intuition about them. Yeah, it's good to have intuition, but you can push this intuition thing.
To back it up.
Yeah. To something much more technical that is almost like 100% right. So yeah, manipulation skills can be taught, but it's not manipulation skills. These are interpersonal skills and mostly emotional intelligence. This is at the basis of everything.
Yeah, that speaks to me. You have an article on the Substack. You have to follow the Substack. It's a good one. What's the name of it again? Intelligence in Business. See, that's better when you say it. How do you build rapport and connections? So you were just talking right now about emotional intelligence. It's a big thing. Mm-hmm. But what else? So to build rapport, as I said earlier, there is first of all the curiosity, genuine curiosity. Treat people equal. No matter if it's the cleaning lady of your hotel or the big CEO of this company or the big investor. She might actually be a spy.
She might. Yeah. No, but also you never know, like, just be kind. And also it's a great way just to exercise, Ask questions. Me, I love being in the cab. Really, for me, it's like a social experience. They open themselves and they tell you, and sometimes even they help me, I'm like, oh yeah, this happens. Like, no, relax. And it's like, oh, thank you so much. You create really genuine relations with people. Just be authentic. So, of course, interest, curiosity, smiling, as simple as it can sound, it makes you likable. Listening, active listening. I see so many people, sometimes, really you're in conversation around the table, you say something and you can see that the other people, they are already thinking in their, oh yeah, I'm going to answer this to him, like they are already thinking about what they are going to answer you because they just want to make their point here and to see who has the bigger, But you didn't really listen to what I have to say. And this is right in business, but this is also right in family, with friends, in love relationships. So listening is very important. Observing, jest, expressions. There are so many others to build rapport. But yeah, I think that's the basis, to start with interests, asking questions, because then they will start to open themselves to you and to share their secrets when you're a spy. But not only secrets, sometimes it could be a problem. When you get close to I always try to get close to my clients because, first of all, I notice that we have the same vision of the world and I appreciate that. And then with time, with trust, they will start talking to you about more personal stuff, about one of their investment in real estate that gone wrong and stuff. And they talk about their problem. And then you actually have a solution. Or a guy that has a solution for him. And then you can actually help him. And if you help him, he will help you back. And it's always a win-win situation, but this kind of relationship can be very strong on the long term.
It's building reciprocity somehow.
Yeah. If you just talk about yourself, so it won't interest them. They want to talk about themselves, about their problems. So care, but again, genuinely for what they have to say. And God is in the details.
Negotiation.
Yeah.
That's another big point. There was that Never Split the Difference book by Chris Voss from the FBI. Mm-hmm. What are your tips in terms of negotiating with people? There is listening. It starts from listening. There is mirroring. Can you explain some of those concepts? Are they the same concept as the one that he is talking about in his books, or are there alternatives?
Yeah, they are quite similar. There is not like 1,000 techniques of negotiation. At the end of the day, we all use the same. It all starts again with what we talked just earlier. It's about the rapport. I really tend to believe that negotiation at the end of the day, if they are about the money and the business, of course they are. But a very important percentage is about the human interpersonal interaction. And I would really put an emphasis on this. I believe this is the priority to understand. There are a lot of different techniques to use, and again, that would depend on the personality and the position and stuff. But first of all, for negotiation, you need to prepare. What do you really want from this negotiation? What are your limits? What are you ready to accept? What is the red line of
the bottom line?
No. What are you ready to compromise? What do you want to get from him? And then you need also to understand who. So here it's important to have the due diligence before, or the background check before, on the company, on the person that will be present. Who is also like the person I'm talking to? Is he really the decision maker? With who am I negotiating? Because you won't address the final decision maker as you address the assistant or the chief of marketing or whatever. So you need to know the dynamic of the team and stuff. And then, yes, there are a lot of techniques to negotiate. I think it would be useless to name them all.
Can you? I was mentioning the mirroring.
Yeah.
Can you explain what that is about?
Yeah, so mirroring is like, you see, you just done this. So I'm just imitating you. Well, now it's not very subtle as I do it, but the goal of mirroring is using the same words. For instance, you would finish a sentence right now with, could you do that? Yeah, of course I could do that. And then it creates a sense of familiarity, of trust subconsciously, because I just, in mirror, I operate like you.
And you adapt to me.
Yeah. You would feel closer to me. Again, don't abuse that, because you can really look ridiculous if you just don't do it well. But it's a very easy technique to create.
But actually, there is always two sides on a coin, right? There is don't abuse it, but it's also be aware of it.
Yeah.
So if you see that someone is always repeating what you just said, has to be a flag.
Yeah, but it means that he's not doing it well. If you notice it, it means it's a bit.
But if you know, at least you can react. If you don't know, you're never going to realize it.
Yeah, but if you know and you see it, you can also actually. Me, I would be flattered to see someone that do that. I would be like, oh, okay, and I would put it on the table. You're now using mirroring. I appreciate that. So explain me, why are you trying to do that, you know? And then actually this is also a technique to disarm completely the person that you have in front, and then to make them react, and then you see the real intentions. What is interesting during negotiations is really to observe expressions, body language, to see if the person is telling you, yeah, of course, yeah, we will sign next week, but his body is pushed away or is clothing the arms, so you can
just doing that means it's body language,
defensive.
And so it's defensive.
Yeah, it's defensive.
And you see a lot of people on pictures who are trying to look smart because they're just like that on the side, but it just means I'm not safe.
Yeah, I'm not safe. I want to take distance from this. On the opposite, someone that would be really like going on the top would try to take advantage,
just
and
like that.
Yeah, to be like controlling. And then there are all the micro expressions that you could read. Someone that tells you again, yeah, of course, but actually you feel like it's a no. So you have here different possibilities. Either you try to persuade him or try to find alternatives. It's always very important to come to negotiation with alternatives that are okay with you. But it's also something, again, here I would use with parsimony, which is like to disarm completely the person. Oh, okay, now you're lying. Why? Why are you lying? Okay, let's just put it on the table. And then you would see really the real face, the surprise, the fear, the anger, and then you can try to work with this. But I don't particularly recommend this one, because this is good for, law enforcement, FBI, or the investigation when you're dealing with a felony or a criminal, because you need to disarm, to destabilize it. In business, the dynamic, I don't think like you want to start building a relationship in these terms. And I always say also, like, we're talking about business and relationships. When you start, M&A or partnership or association and stuff, I always say it's like a marriage. Some people, they jump into the marriage, the association, without really knowing each other. And then the marriage is going wrong. And they divorce in bad conditions, and people are losing a lot of money and stuff. Before you marry your wife, it's not right for all religions and stuff, but let's say in general and in our current society, before you marry someone, I would recommend that you live with the person before.
So we had an example of that a few weeks ago with someone who was here talking about M&As. And he was telling a story where he was trying to sign the deal of an M&A with Chinese partners. And what happened was that they did exactly what you just mentioned, which is the Chinese guys tried to switch things over and say, oh, by the way, we're not going to buy the company at that price, but we're going to change it. Mm-hmm. What they did was, this is not what you said. They came equipped with counter-arguments, things that were kind of brutal and that shifted the relationship. Mm-hmm. And the Chinese, they didn't expect that. So they said, oh, that's not what we meant. And then they came back to the deal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's very interesting. So they did the job as they should have done, yeah.
Yeah, it's a question of negotiation and balancing and counterbalancing.
Yeah, always. It's a dance. I don't like negotiations that are, when you feel like someone needs to win and the other one needs to lose. A good negotiation and a good result of negotiation should always be a win-win at the end of the day. And there are so many factors to take into considerations. We talked earlier also about cultural differences, mentalities and stuff. You don't negotiate in China as you negotiate in France, as you negotiate in the Middle East and so on. So once you need to be equipped to this very specific type of negotiations. Yeah.
That's getting me to the second big topic that we always talk about in this show, which is mindset. What is the mindset that people have when they are aware of this? So your mindset is to say, I want to educate, I want to explain, a negotiation should be win-win, but that's not the case of everyone. Some people have a mindset where they want to get as much as they can and whatever happens. So what is the mindset you should have when you're an entrepreneur, a leader, and you're trying to figure out where you're going to go next?
Yeah. So first of all, in terms of before even the mindset, skills that you must develop is emotional intelligence. First of all, it's a tool for life. Everything in life.
Can you talk about that more?
Yeah,
because we've been talking about it a few times, but we didn't get into the what on earth is emotional intelligence.
It's about hard to explain actually, but it's just about understanding first of all your own emotions, to be able to handle them, to deal with them, to understand them deeply, and then you would be able to identify emotions in others. So you won't get into conflict, or you will manage them better. And as a leader, first of all, it's very important to manage your own emotions, be with your employees or your shareholders or whatever, or your mother and your wife and your kids even. So that's very important. But also to be a good manager. If you understand that this person is now affected by something emotional, so you can try to help or not, again, but it's being in the known, emotionally speaking. And at the end of the day, business, even if it's numbers and money and projects and whatever, there are always human beings to take into consideration. So first of all, emotional intelligence is one tool that one must develop and must have to be a good leader.
I was going to say it's very much related to leadership.
Yeah.
As far as business is concerned.
Yeah, but a lot of leaders don't have this. No. They are like.
And they don't have a clue.
Yeah, and they don't want to change it. It's just like, no, this is how it works, and and they are tough, and they lose good people. And sometimes they just, because they have authority, so they believe like they get respect. But it's not a real respect that they get. They get authority by fear, which is much different than a natural type of authority that is gained by respect. Because people actually see that you are a good human. You are caring, you are listening. You know how to be tough when you need to, but you have a heart. If people respect you because they fear you,
but that's because there is a difference between the authority you get out of status and self-decision. I have the authority because I'm paying you, so shut the fuck up. Or the authority you have because the people in front of you decide that you have that authority.
Yeah.
And they give it to you.
Yeah.
So it's not me saying I'm the boss, it's you deciding that I'm doing my job well and you're going to call me boss or my name, whatever.
Yeah, but on the long term, it cannot, even if it's de facto an authority that you get, if you lead by fear or by a bad type of authority, on the long term, these people are not your ally.
Yeah.
They can even betray you because you will create in them some frustration, some stuff that they will go to your competitor and they will get all the knowledge and all the leverage they learn with you to someone else, or they will start their own thing. So emotional intelligence, basic. Be kind, be genuine. Then, so this is like the bisounours part, the good part. And then I would say a good leader must be also very skeptical, question things.
That's interesting. So mindset about being skeptical.
Yeah. I'm a very skeptical person in general, I see things in a dark manner, and it's in a way, it was always seen as a weakness. When I was a kid, I was like the dark person, artist, tortured and stuff, and it became because I'm very self-aware emotionally of this weakness. I transformed this weakness in one of my greatest strengths in business. I can actually use this darkness in business to anticipate bad scenarios, to think about stuff that actually, even if it's not going to happen, just in case I'm going to change some little thing in my business plan to make sure, and actually that's a great decision for the future, by changing a little decision or a little fact or a little procedure, protocol, whatever. So yeah, be skeptical, questions things.
When do you have to stop questioning though? Because it can be a flaw as well, right?
Yeah.
People saying, no, I don't know. No, I don't know. So I'm not going to do it because I don't know. I don't know. I'm not sure. And so they have a good or bad excuse to procrastinate and not decide.
Action. Yeah. Yeah, of course. What is the limit? Good question.
Maybe it's not the same. Being suspicious is not the same as not being sure.
Yeah, no, not being sure is definitely not a quality when you're a leader. But yeah, just adopt a suspicious position to make sure you have someone do it for you. Because the leader sometimes needs to focus only on decision-making process, but you need to have, we talked about it.
The tense man.
Yeah, the tense man. And also yesterday on one of your LinkedIn posts, I said you need to have the cheerleader in your team, someone that is always like the good vibes and we're going to make it and stuff. But you need also the black cat, the skeptical that is always questioning, but what if? And it's sane. But it's sane in life in general as well. So I think that's an important part of the mindset to have as an intelligence officer or as an intelligence operative and as a leader. What else? Let me think about other things.
What about risk? So again, we're thinking in terms of I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a business leader. Mm-hmm. Should I be risk averse or should I go for risk?
Really depends. I would not advise, it's a matter of personality here. It's also conditioned by your past and your experiences, whatever. Some people are by nature really risk averse, risk tolerant, and some people prefer to stay more in a comfortable situation and do not take too much risk. You can see this in investment a lot. And I don't think there is a good or bad way to be. Don't ask someone that is afraid to go against all of his fears, if he feels insecure, so he's not happy. And at the end of the day, I think also we should do business because we love it, because we appreciate what we do, and it makes us feel good. So I would always adapt to the client. If someone is not averse to too much risk, why would you make him take so many risks? So again, here it depends on the personality. Someone that is very averse to risk, my goal would be to make him understand really all of the, to do geopolitical risk analysis, economical security, and so on. And someone that actually wants to avoid the risk would also need the same type of report, but exactly to know not where to go, where not to go.
It makes me think of, the lean startup kind of methodology where the game is to say, we're going to fail at some point anyway. So let's fail quick and dirty now. And let's learn from what doesn't work so we can move on to what's going to work just next, right? So instead of saying, no, we can't fail. We can't take risks. Take the risk now. Just fail now, learn from it, and move on beyond that risk. And one of the key arguments in that lean methodology is to say, okay, you're scared of risk, then verify, take measures to get rid of that part of that risk, and then make a decision knowing that you have reduced your risk to the maximum. And that's what you do.
Yeah, exactly. And then you become also very resilient. once you proceed that way. That's very interesting what you're saying, because I think also it describes a lot, the Israeli startup nation. In Israel and in Tel Aviv particularly, there is a few years ago particularly, and still now, a lot of high-tech startups and stuff.
Yeah.
It's well known. And something that always surprised me when I was living in Israel, I knew people that really, they were already on their 5th, 6th project of startup, and they never get exhausted. Like, okay, again, they fail, and they're back again every day to succeed. And that capacity of resilience is definitely, something that you should have in your mindset. Learning from your mistake, being open as well. I say also, something obvious, but be humble. Be humble. Accept that you don't know. You don't know everything, and that's good, because there are some people in this world that know things that you don't, and you can have them in your tribe. One recommendation I would give as well, it's not really about the mindset, but somehow, it is. It's about building a tribe, and this is what I built for myself, actually. I call this a tribe because I love the concept, a tribe of people that you trust, that share the same system of values as you do. Sometimes also it could be the same ideology, but at least the same vision of the world, and each are experts in their field. And then you get just this very kind community, but it's not a big community. Like, for me, the tribe, it's something very exclusive. It's a tribe, like a family, really. And I cherish that. And actually, when I was working also in the past, when I was in the high spheres and I met a lot of very important people and persons, I noticed that this is what they cultivate. They have their tribe.
We have a concept when we work with the entrepreneurs we coach and we work with. We call it, we push them to build what we call the Magnificent Seven Circle.
Okay.
And it's exactly that idea of, 7 is kind of the magical number and blah, blah, blah. But it's exactly that idea of, you have your impactful 7, your magnificent 7, whatever, but it's your close group of people who are not going to compete with each other because they have different specialties and different talents. But somehow they're all related to your own talent and they're complementary.
Yeah, and you can grow together.
And one is going to be a permanent pain in the ass because he only sees the negative stuff, but that's why we want him. Another one is the extreme positive, which is good as well, but just one is a pain, just one is too positive, you can't do anything.
Yeah.
But when you get both of them, plus the lawyer, plus
the accountant, the cyber guy,
and the cyber guy, and the guy who can fix your car, but also check there is no spying, whatever inside, But that's the complementarity of it that kind of works.
Yeah, and I think it's great for life, for business. It's important, to be surrounded by being surrounded in general, not being a loner. It's good to be also like a loner, to know where you're going. You have your project, you have your secrets, but you need to build, like, together you go much more far than alone.
There is another post I liked on your Substack. Get the Substack. It's the post on ideology in business.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate on that? Why is the ideology point interesting in terms of having a constructive mindset?
Yeah. So actually, it was a post about one of the posts on the series about mice. Mice is they are the levels of manipulation that one can use about someone. So money, ideology, compromise or coercion, and ego. So ideology is a very strong. It's, I think, even the stronger level of manipulation that one can use, because once you are aligned with someone that you want to manipulate, could be on religion, could be on some belief, or again ideology in general. So money is not important. Nothing is more important than ideology. It can drive people to kill, clearly, and we know that today. So in this article, I remember what I did because I felt like this subject is so dangerous. How to use ideology to manipulate someone, that I decided I'm not gonna dig too much in how to use ideology to manipulate someone, but focus on the positive drive that ideology can be in business. And that actually meets exactly what we just talked about earlier about this tribe sharing a same vision of the world. So sometimes it can be aligned, yes, sometimes with religion, belonging to a same kind of group, could be business-wise, same industry, same appetence to some specific stuff, can be a lot of different stuff, ideology.
Vision.
Yeah, but vision in general is a stronger. And then, this kind of people become brothers. Even if they are not part of your family, you share something. And this is how you, actually community based on ideology, like religions and stuff, are based on. You feel like you're part of a community that there is a cause. There is something higher, bigger than us, and we all fight for this cause and this vision of the world. So ideology can be also transmitted within the company culture, company mentality, and
any organization.
Yeah.
Because in the end, a state is going to have an ideology.
Yeah.
Community is going to have something they believe in, so an ideology. An NGO is going to have an ideology. A company can have an ideology as well because they say, oh, we want to build vegan shoes, right? That's an ideology.
I would say maybe it's more an agenda because having an ideology is stronger. And that's why, again, it's used, it's so transcendent, ideology, and it's so dangerous. It's dogmatic. So it's a problem. But agenda, everyone has an agenda, economic, politic, whatever, financial. Ideology, I don't think all companies have ideologies, strong ideologies. But you can develop a sense of a common vision. If you have a vision as a leader, as a founder of your company, you have to share this vision with the people you work with. And also you need to make sure when you recruit even the tiniest people in your company or your chief operational officer and stuff, you need to make sure that you align on the values. Because at some point, if you don't, I can sign right now, you're going to lose them. It's not going to work.
But it's funny. I mean, it's funny. No, it's not. It's not funny at all. It's. I completely agree with that in the sense that I'm always surprised to see how entrepreneurs and business leaders are not aware of the value of values. They are not aware of the fact that having values with an S is helping to build the value without an S proposition of the company. I had an example once with the CEO of a financial company who called me and said, hey, can you come and make my team work on the values of the company? And I said, well, yes, I can, but how much time do you give me? 45 minutes, it's a lunch stuff. Wow, okay, what are the values you have in mind? And that was a trap that I was pushing because if it's the values of the companies, it has to come from the team, not from him telling them. And he was like, oh, that's easy, being efficient and making more money. And I was like, man, you've got to realize that this is not the kind of values that they are going to buy. And again, we're coming back to the selling idea, selling of ideas. And in the end, he decided to do nothing. And he had a lunch with them and explained that the point was to make more money. And even though I was saying, this is not their values, this is what you want for yourself, and you're going to ask them to work to make you more money, you're not going to get them on board, you're not going to build them alignment. He was convinced that this was values, and these values were creating value proposition for everyone.
Yeah, but so you see, if we go back to mice, for instance, if the guy recruited people that are fundamentally interested in money, which is the first of all levers, if he tells them, so our value is to make more money and to be so rich in 5 years from now, you are all going to be millionaires. So actually he's being right in doing this because he's using the specific level of money because he knows that this is what works on them. So I think, again, the stronger one is ideology because when you're animated by ideology, money is not important. Nothing is more important than the cause that you serve. Again, people kill for ideologies. But for money as well, money is a very strong one.
But it is. But in that case, the money was for him, and his point was, you guys have to be productive, so I can make profits.
Yeah, he's stupid.
And so that wasn't making too much sense. But of course, if the point is actually, it's like the the Netflix show on Billions, where you have like the traders, and they would sell mom and dad for money basically. And they take a cut on everything they sell, obviously. So the biggest law is money. And that's why they cheat the system. That's because they want to make money. And that gets back to what you're saying.
Yeah. And again, so I don't know the full story here. So it seems like he was mostly interested in it for him, and he's going to lose his employees at some point. But if he already identified that what actually drives them as well is money, so he used a very good argument. Some others would love title. Some people, they don't care about the money. They want to be chief, senior, executive, director, manager.
Exactly.
Some people just love titles. They love accumulating titles. And I know a lot of them like this, males in general. Some people are more oriented towards the money. Some people, and also there is evolution in life. At some point, you want the money. Once you get the money, you want to flatter your ego. You want to be in the right field. You want the titles and so on. And you buy the titles with the money, by the way.
What about personality in terms of mindset? We were also talking about personalities earlier. So that relates to how to rely and use somehow emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
How do you use the understanding of personalities to get to the next step?
Which next step?
Your next step. So if you're building a business, can you leverage personality test, personality understanding, personality knowledge?
Yeah, first of all, we use a lot of different type of tests for profiling. So first of all, it's very useful before negotiations to understand what is the system, because through a test you can understand the type of personality, dominant, not dominant, whatever, and also the system of values, the type of reaction. You can also predict some type of behaviors that one can have in a specific context. Personality as a leader, I don't think that there is a prototype of a perfect personality type of leader. I've seen leaders that are extremely soft and that their strengths, that works very well with them. I saw leaders that are much stronger. It depends, first of all, also I think in your industry. There are some industries that are tough, just sharks. And if you don't play the game and you don't become a shark yourself, you're not gonna survive 1 minute. I think about, for instance, all the luxury type of businesses like yachting, private aviation and stuff. You have the professionals like of the maritime and aviation that are cool people, just professional. They drive the boat or they drive the aircraft. But then there is all of these people around that are making the sales. They are real sharks, bad people. Sorry, guys. No, really, because it's a tough world. And you need to have certain traits of personality here when you want to work in this world.
What traits? How can you... So, let's say I have a company. So again, I'm putting myself in the shoes of an entrepreneur. And I'm thinking about getting some investors, right? They say my company is great. So I'm flattered and it's all nice, right? They say I'm going to give you money. So I want money, so that's okay. They say they're aligned. So that's more like the money, and it goes with my ideology. So it's a second way to influence me. Plus, I'm nice, so it's the ego. We're coming back to the mice logic. What are the tools that I can use to identify the traits of characters that they have? So I can say, okay, that guy is trying to screw me over.
Yeah, so all goes back, first of all, to the background check. You need to observe patterns in the past. Because now the guy is so nice with you, because now as you describe the situation, I want to tell you, okay, sign. He's so good and he wants everything and he loves you and he's aligned, so you can just sign. But if you didn't do a check before to identify patterns in the person, so you would be doing a mistake. First of all, if he already associated or invested in other companies, you can always talk with these guys. How was it working with them? What was the relationship? When there are problems, how is he handling problems? And by analyzing the past, personal life, professional life, as an investor, as a CEO, or as whatever, you would be able to identify how he managed the situations. And you can also be completely transparent and ask him, I want to know, get into this type of details to make sure, okay, now we are all very happy and we are dreaming of the best. What if things go south? Do you have ideas? How did you handle things like this in the past? So identify patterns. I always say, but this is because this is who I am by default. I don't trust people by default.
And would you say from gut feeling, the gut feeling is something that people should listen to, or is it something they should be...
Yeah. So we were talking about intuition before and gut feelings. It's here for a reason. I believe I'm a very intuitive person, but again, these skills can be highly developed. Recently, I had a call with an investor, like a type of serial investor and accelerating startups and stuff. And he told me, no, but me, everyone tells me, how do you do all of the one that you push and you accelerated, they succeeded. And it's rare, to have an investor that get it right. Everyone is so proud. It's my intuition. It's great. Really, it's great because not everyone is listening so strongly to their intuition. But imagine how stronger you could be if you could identify why what you call your intuition or your gut feelings made you take that decision. So yes, of course, follow your intuition. If you don't, I always say, hear the good music, there's something wrong. But if you feel that there is not the good music, so do a background check to make sure and to verify if your guts were right or wrong.
And is it that people... So the kind of facade that people have, we're talking right now and you find that I'm a bit too decisional. I don't let you speak. I got you. I tell you what to do. I behave in a way that disturbs you and you're the founder, not me, right? So your gut feeling is kind of telling you something's kind of shaky, shady, wrong. The odds are that I'm going to be like that all the time, or the odds are that I'm just tired today. How do you listen so of course there is the information and the verifying and the checking and the double checking and all that, but would people tend to be always the same as they look right now?
No. And this is really the work of intelligence, I don't like when sometimes people ask me, okay, so what do you think? Okay, you're intelligence analyst, so what do you think? No, I need more things. And environment, for instance, can very impact your behaviors. For instance, someone that just, stop smoking can become very, tense and so on. And in this very specific week, he would not talk to you in the right manner. But you didn't have the context to understand what he was going through. Or today he heard something horrible about disease or whatever, So context is very important to give a second chance. And I would also always recommend, again, in terms of to have genuine relationships, if the person is extremely aggressive, for instance, you can say, look, maybe we should talk at another time. I don't feel like it's productive right now.
And if you have, I was going to say, if you have a very good feeling about something or someone, the guy doesn't cut me, the guy doesn't interrupt me all the time, he is listening and all that. So your perception is pretty good, pretty positive. Should you actually say, I need to see the guy another time, just to make sure that is consistent?
Yeah. No, but me by default, again, when I see someone too nice, it's shady.
Okay.
It is shady because, I accept so many stuff about like the darkest part of myself. And like everyone, I'm surrounded by people and I see a lot of defaults in so many people and I love them. I mean, I love your defaults and it's okay, but we all have them. And people that try to hide a default so hard means there is a bigger problem behind. So I prefer someone that would be, a bit aggressive. Like, okay, well, this is his personality, but I can handle it, instead of someone that is so, neutral that it's like, what is he hiding? Someone that is too good for me is hiding something. And I will need to verify this. So yeah, by default, again, I don't trust.
So it means if we try to wrap it up, using intelligence to scale a business, a project, get it to the next level so that it's not about just quick cash, but building an asset that's going to be there in the long term to serve some ideology or purpose that we have.
Yeah.
There is a dimension about emotional intelligence. We need to be able to understand people, how they work, how they react.
And how you work and how
you work, how you react, exactly. There is a point about getting the patterns, understanding how they're actually operating on top of the human size. There is trusting your guts, but verifying, because if your gut's telling you it's like all nice, maybe it's not that nice.
Yeah.
There is being suspicious, naturally,
Yeah.
but being still sure about yourself.
Confident, yeah.
Confident, but suspicious. Nothing is really like it looks.
Yeah.
So you have to double check.
Yeah.
Does that summarize it, roughly?
Yeah, pretty well. Yeah, definitely pretty well. I love the way you you said all of that. And yeah, I think particularly the first part, I think that's how I never thought about actually presenting it this way. But yeah, this is definitely about having a vision, wanting to leave a legacy to the world. And for this, you need to anticipate, you need to plan. And intelligence is like the secret tool that you would love to have for success.
So in the end, we were asking in the beginning, so is knowledge power?
Yes, clearly.
Knowledge is power.
Knowledge is a new gold. Data is a new gold, anyways, today. But this is also another debate.
One last question. Everything we've been talking about is easy to understand if you're kind of big, right? It's easy to understand how big companies would do that. It's easy to understand how people with money would use your services and make it happen. Okay, I'm a freelancer. I'm starting my business. I don't have much money. I'm surrounded by people who maybe see that I've got gold in my hands, but they see it and I don't. At my own level, me, myself, and I, how can we start leveraging that? Is it possible at a small level?
Yeah, it is possible, because at the end of the day, I would say that intelligence is all about the mindset. It's about a way to think that is out of the box. Because when you learn intelligence, like in the field and stuff, you really have to think differently. You need to think contrarian thinking, out of the box, critical type of approach to everything. And it's just suddenly like using new methodologies. For instance, what people do like today for market research, marketing tools that they use. Intelligence have stronger tools for that. And if you're a freelancer and you want to know your personas, go to talk with your persona and use human intelligence. Get to understand their fears, their emotions, their anger, their pain points. Now, if we take the exact same conversation that we had and I use marketing terms, I'm sure a lot of people would understand them much better. But people don't understand that the tools of intelligence are more powerful than marketing itself. So yeah, intelligence can be approached also. I think it's a great first door on how to approach intelligence. Using open source intelligence, OSINT, what is it basically? It's about having a methodology on how to research things, open source. So on the internet, on things that are open to the public, it's an art.
It is.
And any freelancer could really use OSINT to leverage a lot of things and to scale his business.
So next time we meet and we have another recording, it's about intelligence for marketing.
Could be. Yeah.
Okay. What's the question I forgot to ask? Something important I missed.
I don't see anything. That you finish your list?
I finished my list, but that's my list.
No, you know, I mean, there are plenty of stuff that we could continue to talk about in the field of intelligence, and I think maybe the questions will come, you know, from the people in comments and stuff. That would be very interesting to see, because again, maybe the only questions, that missed here is, why do I talk about it today? Because it's a world of secrecy, and you know, like people have a lot of imagination.
Why did you talk about it today?
Yeah. Thank you.
So?
So yeah, because I feel like there is a need to raise awareness about these matters, to de-demonize the subject, because again, like it has been completely demonized, you know, and fitted with a lot of, you know, imagination and James Bond and things that are not really representative of what the world of intelligence can bring to the world, and it can bring a lot. Because again, it's just about a state of mind. It's about methodologies. It's about a way to think that is different, that you can use in your daily life. You know, me, I use it sometimes, you know, even with my own personal things that I had to handle, like with lawyers or administrative things, just like, okay, there is a problem. They will do it this way, but with my methodology, I will take another way and I will achieve result faster, cheaper, optimized, and even a better result, you know. So I decided to talk and to expose myself in general in podcasts and on social medias, because I think there is no taboo to talk. I'm not talking about my clients. I keep like the greatest level of confidentiality. This is extremely important for me, to keep this level of confidentiality with my client and trust. But that doesn't mean that I should not talk about a job that I love. I'm proud to do what I do. I'm not ashamed of it. I don't need to live in the shade like I should be ashamed of what I do, because I bring value to people. And again, my clients know the value I bring them. So I know I'm valuable, and I think, yeah, it's time just to talk about it and stop making this complex.
But that's because the general perception is that we talk about intelligence, and so it's James Bondy kind of fantasy, right? But in the end, what you're talking about is intelligence, but what you're talking about is the benefit of that, and the benefit of that is how to leverage insights. Yeah,
how to leverage insights in general.
Whether that's geopolitical insights, people insight, body language insight, emotional intelligence insights, KYC, KY, whatever you want insights. It's just about insights.
Yeah, and about understanding when you corroborate the information through the cycle of intelligence, how a good intelligence is useful when you make decisions. And again, there are two types of people. The one that love to live, you know, the adrenaline and the risky life, and it's like, oh yeah, I like this feeling of always being on the edge. And there are the people that they love also to be on the edge, and they love taking risk, but smartly. And intelligence is intelligent by definition. So I think, to conclude, that's what I would say. Like, I came here to make it more accessible. And you see, like, actually now we talk about this only now, but because you understand very quite well my world, so we already talked about more technical stuff, but maybe we should have started with this from the beginning, to make people understand that it's not what they think. Intelligence is not James Bond, not only, at least.
Still, power is knowledge.
Yeah.
Now that you know, you know.
You know.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Antoine.
And see you next time on the next episode. You know what to do. Cheers.